January 9th and 2023, and we are opening the meeting at 7:03. So we have some new members, so I thought it would first be good to just go around, say who we are, and, if we represent a board, we'll wanna say that. So I'll start. My name is Sandra Berry. I'm the chair of CPC for the moment, and I represent the Parks Commission.
Oh, I thought you'd go that way, make the new ones go on their spot.
Oh.
I've already written it down.
All right, go
Glad to do it. Francois Steiger, 65 Healdville Road, and been a resident here since 1999, and I am part of the planning board, and so I represent the planning board on your committee. I think previously you had Alice Lipton.
Yes.
So
Now, oh, sorry, my question was, cause I wasn't sure what you were representing, but the planning board was also doing the housing. So are you like doing a dual role?
I'm
or
not,
you're not?
because, and my
Okay.
understanding is this housing is, not only is it totally separate from the planning board, but it's also, not represented by me.
Okay, no, that's
If it-
fine, cause
if it
Alice
is.
was doing that.
She was last year, correct,
Yes.
yes.
Okay,
indeed.
great, well, welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mary Verderesian. I live on Old Westminster Road since, I think, 93. I am, I think, at-large, committee member at-large, so I'm not really representing any organization.
Welcome, Mary.
Susan Worth, Fruit Road. I'm currently on the Open Space Committee and also the Hubbardston Historical Society.
And I'm Dolores Ordway, High Street, and I've been in town since 1969. And I belong to the Senior COA and the Lions Club and the Community Preservation and the Historical. I represent the historical part of this committee too. And I'm trying to join the Cemetery Commission, so.
Good for you.
You're well-rounded.
Yes.
Seems to be.
So, did Barbara leave the historical commission?
Gary asked me to join and I was sworn in,
Oh,
so I
good.
don't know.
I wasn't sure if
who-
Barbara had left or not.
Yeah, no.
I'm Danielle Arakelli, and I'm the member at large. I'm on High Street too. Since '96, maybe, I've lived in town. I have to look at the calendar. And I'm also the CPC rep on the Affordable Housing Committee.
Oh, that's right,
Yeah.
you were gonna do that, so, yes, welcome to everyone. I've been here since '97. I live on Nestlewoods Lane, no one knows where it is, so it doesn't matter. Okay, so let's, no one's here from the public that I see, which is fine, and like I was mentioning earlier, the library trustees did reach out to me about submitting an application. I told them we had some housekeeping details to take care of, so come around 7:30, so we'll see if they come. But they did tell me they were putting in an application, and I did express to them that they needed to get it to the town clerk. We need like 10 copies, they're supposed to certify it, sign it, then they send it to us. I did instruct them to do that. And I also told them we would like an update on the 2 applications that we funded for them last year, just to see, how that's going. I know we've seen some invoices, but I don't know if the projects are done, and we'd like to get an update from time to time. And I told them they could do that just in an email, that I could share if they didn't wanna come, but fingers crossed, maybe they're gonna come at 7:30. So we can do our housekeeping in the meantime and see what happens. So I looked through stuff from early in the year, cause we only meet a couple times a year, and I don't think there's any outstanding minutes. The last thing I saw was minutes approved on December of 2021. And I was thinking, didn't we have to have everything wrapped up for the church by January 15th of 2022? So we had a lot of little meetings at the end of 2021.
But they were mostly Zoom, so there's
They were all
record.
Zoom,
Yeah.
they were all
That's
Zoom.
why.
And
Cause I know
Caleb-
there was one in January for sure, cause I was trying to figure out something on the playground. Is it still in undesignated reserves, or is it the 12,000, or does it go back to open space?
Oh, you're talking to the,
Yeah,
about
I'm
the
jumping
ball
ahead,
game, yeah,
and I
yeah.
don't wanna do that, but that's why I was looking through the minutes, and it was definitely in January, so.
Okay, so I don't know if we have any minutes written up
What
for
was the
January.
last
I
meeting
was
then?
looking, and I couldn't find it. The last meeting I saw was December of 2021.
No, there was one in
like 19th.
August
Did we have one in August?
of 2022.
I thought that got
For-
canceled because
Maybe
there were
it-
no applications
Maybe
for
it
the
did, I
fall.
just had it on the
Yes.
calendar, so.
Yeah, it did get canceled because we had no new applications for the fall town meeting, so we never had it.
Right.
So, well, for now, we'll just table any minutes, cause no one has minutes. And like I said, I didn't see any minutes that Kayla had sent that hadn't been approved, and she was so good about sending them
Yes,
you
she
know,
was top,
immediately.
yeah.
That we will just move forward with that. The overview of CPC for new members, so I did send you, just an email that gave you basic information. We do follow this little chart, and I did make one for each one of you. Unfortunately, I apologize, my printer is not behaving, so the black came out really lousy, and the chart behind it came out very colorful. So, but there's a little chart behind it. All of this is on the coalition page, but when we're talking about the different, buckets, we tend to call it, that projects can fall under, this kind of gives us a little guideline about, whether we can acquire it, can we create it, can we preserve it, so it kind of breaks down what you can do for each type of application. So it just helps give you some guidelines. Some applications are straightforward and they fall right in. Other applications have a lot of discussion. And that's why we meet in January to accept applications, because town meeting's not till June. So that gives us the opportunity to meet with the people presenting the applications, discuss the application. If they need to provide us more information, it gives us 4 or 5 months to get that all together, so we have time to get it on the warrant and make sure it's buttoned up pretty good for it to go on the warrant. Because as we know, as I did explain, we just accept the applications, see if they meet the guidelines for the CPA, which is the legislative act, and then we move it to the town, and the town votes whether they wanna fund it or not. Even if it qualifies, the town still votes if they wanna spend their money that way. So, does anyone have any questions at this point? Have you perused?
I do have a quick question.
Sure.
On the rehabilitation and restoration for housing,
Mhm.
it says no unless it's been acquired from, or created with, CPA dollars, right? So, so the preservation of historical buildings does not, when I say buildings, I'm talking about residential buildings or houses that, might be on the ownership of somebody. There's no funding available, right?
No, there
What I'm hearing-
is.
So then why do we say no?
So what it is for an existing historic home,
Mhm.
people can come to CPA for funding for their home. So you're saying we're not gonna create, they're
No.
saying they're not gonna create a new home.
No, actually, matter of fact, it says yes for creation, but it says, when it comes to rehabilitation, it says no. I'm looking at the
Oh.
second page.
Oh, the second page, I don't know, I never use that page, but, does that,
Well, it always takes a new person to bring things
yeah,
up like
that's
this.
true. I really don't know the answer to that right now, because we have had applications, and they did go through, of
Okay.
historic homes in town, that have come to us for rehabilitation.
So what's the source of this information here that you have?
It's right
for
off the
this?
coalition, the website, it's right off the website. And that page, that second page was something I found new, where normally the first page is what we normally use. So I don't know if there's been a change, in it that I've been aware of.
Okay, for historic preservation, we could use it to acquire, so say the Wheeler Brothers stores hadn't been bought and the town wanted to acquire it to make it a senior center. CPC money could have been, or CPA money could have been used for that to acquire it. Could we create historic? No, because it wouldn't be historic. Now, say the Wheeler Brothers was sold and wanted to apply to have it renovated or rehabbed so it looked the way it looked when it was the store. They could apply for that, they'd have to come in with an application, they'd have to get 3 bids, they'd have to go through this whole process, and it would meet preservation requirements. Could we then go and fix the Wheeler Brothers windows with CPA money? No, because that's support of it.
I'm just pointing out that there's not this contradiction. One
This
says
is-
yes, the other one says no,
This is
Okay.
specifically for housing, this is for the historic bucket, they're separate
Well-
buckets.
and this one says affordable housing, right? So there's a little distinction here also.
Well, I think this is under affordable housing. I think they just didn't say
So that's-
affordable.
Okay.
But again, like I said, I just printed that off today. I didn't do a ton of research. I just grabbed what I could to provide you some information.
Okay.
I can tell you that, the coalition is actually doing a training, and I wanted to get people's information if they wanna go. They're gonna send out an invitation, but they're doing an actual training in Phillipston in March. And they have,
I've been there.
Have you?
Yes.
They've invited the town of Hubbardston CPA to join them. They're saying it's good for new members, it's good for old members, they're gonna bring us up to date, with everything, so that will be very good. Training if you wanna go, so Francis and Mary, I didn't respond to anyone on it yet. I told Stuart that we were having our meeting tonight and I would ask people if they wanted their emails shared, because it's up to you whether you wanna get information from them, you don't have to. And if you'd like an invitation to this training, so I'm getting back to them tomorrow, and I just need to know who would like at least the invitation, and you can RSVP back to them yourselves, saying you would like to go. It's my information, it's March sixth at 7:00, but they did not give me, the specifics, because they're gonna send an invitation out to people who would like to go. I personally have a conflict that evening. I'm gonna see if I can change the conflict and attend, but, would people like me to share their emails so that you can get the invitation to this training?
Sure.
My email is different than what you have.
Yes, it bounced back, I saw that, yeah,
Yes, I'm,
that's okay.
anyway, now it's just DoloresOrdway@yahoo.com. The Gmail, for some reason, told me I had to get rid of all my pictures,
Oh,
or they would charge me, and I
Ah.
tried.
oh, maybe the cloud is.
It's
I
full.
I don't know,
Wow.
but just a new email was a solving
So,
situation.
Dolores Ordway at where?
Yahoo.com?
Yahoo.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's DOL.
DOLORE.
Just small.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch the hours where this is,
I was
happening.
thinking.
I don't know where it's happening yet, they're gonna
The
send,
hours?
I think they said 7:00.
Evening?
I think it's in the evening at 7:00, I think that's what they said.
It's a Thursday, right?
No,
It's-
it's
No,
Monday.
it's a Monday.
What
Just
is
like
it?
Monday.
March 6th is
Yeah,
a Monday.
March 6th.
And maybe it's March 2 then.
Now, hold on, let me see, let me take a look at
'Cause-
this. Oh, I'm sorry,
Two-
Thursday, March 2nd
Yeah,
at 7:00.
yeah.
Okay.
So that's a Tuesday.
And
That's a
Thursday.
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 Right.
Yeah, they're hosting this training, session for any neighboring towns that are interested in attending. They have not determined where it's gonna be held yet.
Guess how much money they have in their account? Over $800,000.
Do they?
I
They
did a little
probably,
research and I couldn't believe it. They're such a small town.
they probably haven't
probably had it
used
for a
it.
long
They haven't,
time.
yeah.
They must have let it just accrue and
Yep.
accrue. I mean, they did mention some projects that they'd done,
Mhm.
but I thought, wow.
Well, even the town of Hubbardston, we didn't have a lot of we had projects at the beginning, then for a number of
Long
years, we had
time.
no projects, so if that's how our account got up to like $500,000.
Yeah, it was $500,000 at one
Yeah.
point almost.
And I don't know
Yeah.
what their rate of tax is, like I don't know what
I
their
don't either.
percentages that Phillipston did.
And
Hubbardston
they're-
did the minimum.
I think they must have done the 3%, do you
Yeah.
think?
And they're,
Which-
they're a bigger town.
Really? The population is only like 2,000.
I thought they were higher
But is
than
Phillipston
we
and
were.
Templeton combined for CPC?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, I
they're
was
separate.
thinking I was
I thought
thinking
they were
Templeton.
combined.
Anyways, it's perfect timing.
Correct.
Because I've got a million questions. And you don't wanna take all of Stuart's time, but in a group and maybe other
Mhm.
people have some of the same questions.
Absolutely, and I don't know who's doing the training. I know I got an email from Chase one day, and then the next day I got an email from Stuart, so I
think
was.
Stuart does most of them out in the
Yeah, I
field.
think Chase is his assistant, but
Yeah.
either way, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying they're just trying to get this
Well,
up.
would it be
and-
easier if we are fairly certain he gets one email from you and then everybody, or
I-
should we each individually?
I told him I would email him tomorrow after the meeting tonight, and I would provide with him the people who are interested in their emails, so he can send everyone their own invitation.
Okay.
So that was my understanding of how it's gonna be done, so. So, anyways, I can tell you the website, the coalition website is very informative, and having this training is going to be that much more helpful as well. So, so I would look there for any questions you might have right now. Again, if we don't have any applications, maybe they're gonna come, but if we end up not having any applications, then, I mean, we're training, but it'd be something we'll just have to keep in our, in
Yeah,
our
the
brains
logins.
until we get those specific applications, so. So moving forward, we did lose a number of people, their terms were up in June, and so we lost Kayla, we lost Stephanie, she left earlier, we lost Alice.
Yeah.
Is that it, those three?
And he replaces Alice.
He replaces Alice, yeah.
You replace Barbara. Remember back we had.
Yeah, but Barbara left like a year
Right.
ago, yeah.
At large,
Mhm.
open space.
Yeah.
So
So-
Conservation Commission's the only one that
Conservation.
we don't have a member from.
And we also,
Which is a
probably
very
need
small
one.
group, because I understand Conservation Commission is down to individuals right now,
Are
too.
they?
What is it? Is everybody just had it or something? Or-
Well, a lot of people have been volunteering for a long
A long
time.
time,
And I mean,
yeah.
you're kinda new to volunteering in the last couple of years, but I mean, you and I, we've been on this committee since what, 2008?
Ugh, at least, it's been a long
Well,
time.
yeah, it's been a long time. It's been a long time, yeah. So yeah, so it's actually good that new people are getting involved. But, so moving forward with this committee, I'm not gonna be the chair anymore. Actually, I'm retiring, and my
You can't
husband's
quit the committee.
retiring. Well, my term with Parks, after 22 years I have volunteered on the Parks, I'm retiring. And I'm not running for reelection, so, so I don't wanna hold any position because I'll probably not be here till June, so.
Well, that's not
But-
fair. We'll talk you into it.
Oh my goodness.
We'll see.
We'll put her up for Parks Commission, then we'll have you be the at large.
There you go.
It'll be fine.
There you go. There you go. But Kayla, she did our secretary, she was our secretary. Susan's done a wonderful job as the treasurer.
Yeah.
And so really, we're looking for someone to be the secretary, and we're looking for a treasurer if you don't wanna remain the treasurer, and we're looking for a chair.
I love this because I
Oh,
wanna
thank God.
figure it out.
Because I did not wanna do that.
We should do it.
Yeah.
No, that's fine, that's fine.
And, yeah, so I'm happy.
Alright, so do we wanna
Frustrated sometimes,
make
but
a
happy.
motion for
It's-
her
it's
to continue, Susan? to
And I
continue?
second it.
Okay, go ahead, Danielle.
So I'll make a motion for Susan to continue as treasurer of CPC.
And I second it.
And you've all been sworn in, right? Okay.
I have not.
Oh, you have not?
No, I have to go, so I won't be able to vote tonight.
Okay, you won't
on
be able to
anything.
vote. Yep, no, that's fine.
Can I just say something? I don't know if we're changing the subject, but last night at the Lions Club,
Oh. Well, can we get through this
Oh,
first?
I'm sorry. I
Yeah,
thought we
so,
were gonna end
no,
everything and I
we're
wouldn't get a
going
chance
to,
share this.
we're gonna elect new positions, then we're gonna go to the budget, then we'll do the
Okay.
new information, okay?
Alright, so I motioned, you've seconded,
Mhm.
and is there anyone, shall we vote? I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
What are we doing?
We're voting for you to remain treasurer.
Congratulations.
We're voting for you to remain treasurer.
Oh, okay.
That's good, great.
Francois, does your name have an E at the end?
Pardon me?
Does your name have an E at the end, or no?
No,
Oh, good.
otherwise you'd be changing my sex.
Well, now I've
Oh,
learned
is that
something
what
new.
Nothing new these days.
We don't be females here.
There you go. That's like today I was writing Francis, I always have to say his, her, from male, female, like,
Yeah.
that's how I remember whether it's IS or ES.
Ah,
So,
that's a good one.
yeah, cause
Ah, what a
IS
nice
is
little
for
trick.
male and ES is for female,
Yeah.
Well, it's actually
right?
COISE at the end.
Oh,
Oh,
For-
Français.
for Francois,
Francois.
but this is just Frances.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
Francis, yes. Francis.
But yeah, his and hers, that's not why, so.
That's a good way. I'd never
That's
even
my
thought of
sister-in-law's name, and I'm always like, it's an ES or an IS, I have to put that through my head. Anyways, so now we need a position of a secretary
that. Who wants to be secretary?
and of a,
It should be you.
and of a chair.
Okay, so then who's gonna be the chair?
Susan.
No, she can't be treasurer and
Can't be
chair.
both, yeah.
It's, I know this is all new to you, but you know, protocol.
I cannot, because I'm not sworn in.
Because you're not sworn in.
Well,
So I-
tonight doesn't have to, I mean,
We don't have to do it
Right,
tonight,
No.
I was
Yeah.
just,
and maybe we can find some other members too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many members do you
Nine.
we're
need?
supposed to have 9.
9.
Yeah.
Does every committee in town need 9 members?
No.
It's
No.
all dependent on how the committees were
Was set up.
birthed, basically.
Mhm.
And that's on our own website.
That is on the,
Yeah.
that is on the website. Oh, I thought I had printed that out. I didn't. Yeah, I printed it. So yeah, we're supposed to have 9 members, and when we ran into the situation earlier, yeah, we're supposed to have conservation, historical, planning board, housing authority, parks, open space, and then 3, members at large.
Right. Now, the problem that we run into is we don't actually have a housing authority,
We don't,
so,
and the bylaws actually say that you don't have to have someone on the housing authority, you can actually have the board of selectmen, you know,
mhm.
appoint someone. So no one, people can be appointed if you know anyone who wants to be appointed. I mean, the biggest thing is trying to find people interested in volunteering.
Yeah.
And I also,
Somebody's trying to.
I also did talk to, Ryan before he left about this, and he says, you know, you can go to the board of selectmen and have this changed
You have to go to town meeting for a vote,
for a vote.
for
Yeah,
changing the,
really?
for
Yeah,
any
for
board,
the
you can't just,
construction
you
of it.
can't
It's
set
randomly
up that way
change it,
originally,
Yeah.
So do we wanna make a motion to table the vote for reorg
Sure.
until,
We get more
Next meeting?
members or next
Yeah.
meeting? Okay.
so I'll make that motion, who would like to second it?
I'll second it.
Only because, give everybody a chance to consider what roles they may wanna take.
Okay.
In the event that you're sworn in, would you be interested in being the chair, or? How do
I'd
you
have to
feel?
consider it because, I mean, I have to, look into it. The reason is I do travel quite a bit as part of my work.
Oh,
And so, my time commitment, because you mentioned that there's really only 2 meetings that are happening, that's why I thought that that's, typically you have them on the annual basis.
yeah, usually in January and then again in August, and it's always just to meet, the town meetings, and if there's no town meeting for the fall, then we don't even have one
Well,
in
there'll be
August.
one, I'm sure.
Well, if there's no applications.
Yeah.
Yeah, or no applications,
No,
yeah.
it is understood. So it's just an issue for me, because I do travel for work. But I'm more than happy to consider it, yes.
Okay,
Okay, so we
that's
will,
fine.
we will vote, right now I'm making a motion to table it until our next meeting, Dolores seconded, who would like to vote? I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
Oh, and one thing also to consider, I do apologize.
No, that's fine.
And typically, this is why, even in the CIPC, I've never become chair. The reason is that as a planning board member, our cycle
Mhm.
is until, June. And after June, we may no longer be in the same position. So, like, for
Correct.
example, Alice was,
Planning.
part of the, as a member of the planning board, she was part of this, commission until at the end of June of last year. But after the elections, when we, started putting out who was going to be in what commissions, that can change. So there's that big element of variability also to
Yeah.
keep in mind.
Mhm.
And sometimes, sometimes we volunteer for it, and sometimes somebody's really gung ho on taking that position, and it's not always guaranteed that the same person will be in. So I just caution you, from my
Mhm.
perspective, that I may not be the person
We
who
have
will be in here.
Zoom, we can talk to you
Nope.
online.
Pardon?
We
That's
have,
fine.
we can always
We
talk to you on the.
can discuss it, the next.
No, what
meeting.
I'm,
Just the next
yeah,
meeting, yeah.
exactly, all I'm just saying is that for this time, great, but come the August timeframe,
Okay.
if you are the chair, and if the chairmanship extends into 2024,
Uh-huh.
then you have the situation where
I
I'm
see.
no longer chair, you have to now get a new chair.
Okay.
That's the only issue.
Well,
Okay?
we'll discuss it then.
Yeah,
Sure.
just laying the cards on the table,
Okay.
but I'm open to it.
Okay.
Vin was on it for years.
Good.
Yeah, he was.
I don't think anyone was fighting for the position on the planning board.
In fact, we were lucky to, I mean, for many years, we've never had, I can't even tell you the last time we had 9 people on the
No,
board.
it's been a while,
long
it's been a
time.
while.
Yep.
And even we had a rep from the historical commission, they never showed up, we had a rep from conservation, they never showed up.
They never showed up, yeah.
That's why Kayla was so.
She was awesome.
Yeah. We should drop her a note at
Yeah.
some
Yeah, yeah,
point
yeah.
as a group and
Yeah,
say
we
thank
missed
you.
her as
Yeah.
secretary at the
Yeah.
Lions too.
Yeah.
She was good at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Well, and Zoom made it easy.
Yeah.
You know, like people traveling like you, they could jump on a call, you know, jump in a meeting and,
That is not the issue, as long as we can do it via Zoom, and we're
Yeah, yeah.
allowed to do it by law.
mhm.
Cause I don't know how long the Zoom thing is
It's
going to be.
March 18th or something.
Oh, this year,
Yeah, yeah.
But
Last I knew, but they may have
But
extended
the
it.
governor can make their decision
Mhm.
on whether or not the.
and extend it further.
Legislation
Yeah.
can go through, depends on their moods, I guess.
Do we want to talk about the budget now, or?
I think we have our guest
Yes,
here,
I,
maybe
you
that
here
would
from
be-
the library?
I am from the
I'm
library.
sorry, I forgot your name.
I'm Connie.
Connie, that's right. Do you wanna present your application and the updates now, and then we can discuss the budget? Unless your proposal has changed and you're looking for a lot more money, then I
Well,
think,
we did not submit a proposal for CPA.
oh, so you didn't?
No, because we submitted a proposal to CIPC
Oh, okay.
for project manager.
Oh, okay.
So I was inquiring because we had, are you Santa?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
When I had initially emailed you, I was telling you that when we look at our accounts, we had $2,500 for
Yes.
strategic planning from 2016. And I was inquiring whether or not we could change the focus from strategic planning to project management, just to kind of use up the funds. But we have not submitted a CPA.
Well, I knew that we hadn't gotten one, and so I didn't know if you were showing up with one in your hand.
No.
So, okay, so are you here just to present an update on the projects? Okay, so go ahead, you can sit at the table.
And we have a couple of questions too, just,
Sure.
so I'm trying to document processes for the library, just so we kind of understand, like, when things happen and when things don't happen.
Okay,
So,
sure.
I may have a couple of questions, just
Oh,
so we
right.
keep track of stuff.
We're all ears.
Yeah.
Connie, before you start, can I just ask your last name?
Oh, sure, my name is Connie Strittmatter, it's STRITTMATTER.
Thank you.
And I'm chair of the trustees, so. And so currently, we have 2 CPA funds or, projects going forward. One is the library first floor rehab. And so we had, brought in, an electrician from Woodford, to kind of fix the, like, emergency exit sign, so that is more, legal, and up to date,
code?
up to code, and so forth. And we also have him coming back this week to start looking at, the lights in the children's room. If you've ever looked in that room, they're, not energy efficient, and like, there's actually, the light is actually, there's a plug that it's plugged into the ceiling. So maybe trying to look at kind of updating some of the lighting on the first floor, so we're kind of working on trying to get that going. That first floor rehab also had some work being done at the basement level. We've held off on that for a little bit because there needs to be some wall repairs, and so we didn't wanna go through and fix the floors and stuff like that when it might be, structurally compromised if we have to make changes to the walls, and stuff like that, so that is a little bit on hold, and we haven't updated the, director's office yet. But we have spent, a fair amount of the money updating the electrical, so.
Mhm.
And as far as storm windows go, we are kind of waiting. We're finding ourselves in a position where we have different projects that we're working on, and we wanna make sure we're being good stewards of the money we've received. So we submitted a proposal to CIPC to help us get a project manager to help us figure out, like, what are the right steps that we should be doing the projects in, so we don't put in storm windows, and then we have to go and change windows and the size changes or something like that. So we're trying to be better stewards
Sure,
of
makes
the
sense.
money, so, so there has been some stall in some of the progress that we've made from the money that you've given us, in 2021. But we are trying to actively work with that. We're working with Nate to try and identify project managers we can hire, to kind of get us back onto a good path and get us a good plan forward for updates that we need to do.
Good.
And then for the brick repair, we have not done much related to the brick repair yet. We had somebody come in and kind of, a structural engineer come in and kind of scope it out, but we haven't hired a contractor yet to do that.
Okay.
And then I have as well in our accounts, money for the foundation. So there's brick repair, which is pointing,
Mhm.
but we've also submitted a proposal, I think in 2019, for foundation.
Yeah, for the
repair.
front, for the
For the
front,
front.
yes, yes.
Is that money still
Yeah.
available to us? Is that still,
Yes.
that's $8,000 there?
Yeah, because they
Okay.
asked for an extension, so just to go over the time frame, so we asked that project to be done within 2 years.
Mhm.
And if you need more time, that's fine, you
Mhm.
just need to let us know so we don't vote to
Okay.
move the money that day.
Okay, so then as far as for the library, we have the $8,000 for the foundation.
Mhm.
We have the brick repair, which is 20,000.
Yep.
And then the first floor rehab, which is, right now we have 19,000 in that account, because we spent some of it down.
Okay,
So those are the three that you all have on your.
And then the 2,500, which was library long
Oh,
range
so do
plan,
we-
which could be, doesn't it almost?
I thought that was already turned, well, she was,
So that, I guess
So
that's
that-
my
that's-
question,
yeah.
is like what.
so
how-
she thought she had the money in the library account, and I had to explain to her, no, we don't hand you the money and say, here's your project, we pay the invoices.
It's
Mhm.
allocated.
Okay, so we do have the $2,500
Yes,
that we could
it's-
use.
Right.
And then if I wanted to, instead of hiring a consultant to help with the strategic plan, because we've already done our strategic plan and we kind of have that process down, could I reallocate that to use towards a project manager? Because we
Are
put
they
a
almost
request
the
into.
same or not?
I mean, the focus is a little bit different.
I suggested that she submit a new application, because it's from so long ago, but.
Can I make a suggestion? I'm on the CIPC,
Yes, I
as you know.
Yes, I feel like I run into you often.
The, no, and it's difficult, as you know, it's a very difficult year,
Mhm.
when the numbers are very low. Not everything that has been submitted, intent,
Mhm.
will potentially be granted,
Okay. Okay,
okay?
Yep.
So I think you need to open your doors a little wider
okay, so look for
in,
additional.
and potentially look in other places.
Okay. All right,
I'm just letting you know that I
Okay.
think it's probably a wise
okay,
move on your side if you would do
Okay.
that.
okay. So I
I'm not
guess.
saying the CIPC is not going to fund it, but I think you need to make sure that you have other
Other
opportunities and not miss that one.
Okay. So I guess my question is could I take that $2,500, put it towards a project manager, and are you still accepting applications for CPA?
Well,
Or
we
it's
were
first
supposed to
tonight.
get him tonight, but I'm
Okay.
sure we can make an exception.
Well, she's here.
But
No, but you
She
have to go,
mentioned-
you have to actually have a plan
Yes.
with cost estimates, it can't just be,
Yeah,
you
just-
wanna
you
do
do-
this.
I want
You
this
get
the rest of the money.
reimbursed, we don't send
Correct.
out.
But I have-
Yeah.
the
In other
20
words, we need invoices to have something to
Absolutely, yes.
pay, yeah.
Yes.
The $2,500, when was that?
2016.
It's
So that's
2016.
why I
But
said, that's a long
was
time
that
ago.
for a study
Library
where they did
long-range
surveys, they
plan.
had someone come in?
We hired somebody, this is before I came onto the committee, but we did hire somebody, a consultant. They did do some focus groups,
Mhm.
but then they did not finish the project. They had to step back from it.
Okay.
So which is why we had some money left over, why we didn't
And I
send the
think
money
that we'd
out.
have to go back at the town, cause I was CPC chair at that point, and I actually was on the focus groups.
Okay.
We would have to go back and look at how that was voted on at a town meeting, because if it was a study with a focus group, then no, you couldn't just arbitrarily change it.
Mhm.
We would have to vote to put it back in the account, and then present on the floor a new project.
A new project,
Okay.
yeah.
You know what, you
Yep.
you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Okay.
But that could be done.
It
It could be done, I'm
Yeah,
not saying it
but
couldn't be done,
needs procedurally,
but I'm
that's what
saying
you're
that we couldn't
right?
just,
Okay.
Yeah.
say we're gonna put it over here now, we would have to,
Yeah.
we'd have to vote to bring it back, and then vote to put it back out.
Okay, so go back to 2016 town warrant, see exactly
See how it was worded.
And, yeah,
Because I think it was
how voted.
specifically about doing
Okay.
a study of, uses of the library for our community, it wasn't specifically towards building renovations and that sort of thing.
Right, okay, yeah, 'cause I think what we just have it listed as, what our counts as long-range plan is.
Mhm.
And I think it was to try to meet up with like, what do people in town want, what do they want out of their library, what should we fund, what shouldn't we fund?
Right,
Which is different than, should we replace the windows or, you know, that sort of thing.
right, okay.
Who's Chris then? Is she the
Chris Barber
library,
is the library director.
head librarian?
Yes.
Because Susan Worth, and I've been in contact with our accountant, cause I'm trying to keep track of
Mhm.
this. And she said she contacted Chris, and there's some other funds available too, which I was never aware of. I'm not putting you on the spot,
Okay.
but I just
Okay,
thought
go for
while
it.
you're
Yeah,
here,
let me
it
just-
might be interesting so that we all know
Yeah.
that we've all heard this. because we were gonna update our, accounts too, and so, she was talking with Chris and said, oh yeah, you know, we've got things rolling forward, but I was never aware that, and that's just cause I never checked it out. There's a donation account and then a state grant that does that come in annually?
So the donation account is money that we get from like our road race.
The race and
Or
so
if
forth,
people
yeah.
make a donation in honor of someone maybe who
Right.
passed away or something
Memorial,
like that,
yeah.
yeah. So that's what the donation account is. And then we have the MDLC state account, which is money that we get each year from
The
the
state.
state.
Uh-huh. It's not
and that's-
federal, it's state.
It's not a state, it's state funding.
Yeah.
And it's related to when this is why it's important that the town fund the library at a certain level, because if the town does not fund the library at a certain level, we don't get that state funding.
Ah.
And then we also lose privileges such as a Hubbardston resident would not be able to request materials through CW Mars, they would not be able to go to another library to use materials, because right now all those reciprocal relationships are based on us kind of being like in good standing.
Right.
So, so we do get some funds from that as well.
Okay.
And then we have a couple other trust accounts as well.
Oh, trust accounts too?
Yes, we do have a couple of donations. One is, we have the Fairman account, which is dedicated to like beautification.
Mhm.
So, we have one that is related to books, one that's very general related to in support of the public library, you know, so we do have a couple of trust accounts as well.
Well, it's good
Which
to know
we can
there's
kind of draw from,
several
but we also don't
sources.
want to, you know, run down those accounts, you know.
Right.
So that's where I think before when we did the first floor rehab, I think we put in 3,000 of our own money
To
as
manage.
part of, to kind of, something, just good faith that, you know, we're asking you for money, but we're also willing to put in some of our own money as well.
Were you on board when the roof project was
I had
done?
just come on board.
Because I think Tom Robinson
Mhm.
was the key person in
Yep.
that, and that was such a good example of the CPA monies,
Mhm.
the town money, and I'm not sure where the other third basically came from.
Uh,
But a grant of some
Brian
sort?
got us a $100,000 from the
Really?
state.
And-
Wasn't it
you know.
So everybody had some skin in the game, and it was an important thing, and nobody could have done it by themselves.
Yes.
And this year we pay off the last
I
note
know,
on
I
it.
know, it's very exciting.
So that's the good news, and people could see it happening. I mean, it was a beautiful job.
Yes, it was, yeah, it was great.
Connie, could you tell me, you don't have to share this, but how much money are you asking from the CIPC for this project manager?
We asked for 6,000.
Okay.
I was hoping to go back and ask for 9,000, but I may be
Maybe
reconsidering
three.
that. I may be reconsidering that.
I don't know, I heard a hint, but I don't know.
Right.
No, I was just kinda curious, cause we're gonna talk budget next.
Yeah,
and-
absolutely, yeah, I mean,
so we'll
full
just give us an
disclosure,
idea.
yeah, we asked CIPC.
Give us an idea of
We
what
gave
might be
a lot of
coming our way.
Yeah, so
We
I think
did,
we're
we gave a
thinking
ton of money for
probably,
the roof.
we might go do for 3 or 4,
I don't know.
another 3 or
I was
4,000. You know,
That's what I
so.
thought.
I didn't know if it was like
And-
20,000 or something.
No, cause what really, they're
that
not
was
necessarily
specifically
gonna
the roof.
execute the project, they're really gonna
Oh.
kinda give us like the framework of like, hey, these are the orders in which you should do things, and
We
maybe
did,
help us
we had
try
several
and,
projects, we did the
yeah.
first floor
package it
rehab was one
in a way
project,
that,
the roof was another
like,
project.
one of the problems we're having
front
with the foundation repairs
They did
is,
all that with the money.
With different ways.
timing with a contractor.
Yeah, oh, yeah,
And getting
sure.
it timed out right, and then also, in the big scheme of things, the project is fairly small, so it's not necessarily, of great interest to some contractors to take that project on.
Yeah,
Okay.
But we are trying to, work with DPW to see if perhaps this is something they could do the foundation repair, like in the spring, like maybe during like a downtime. So, you know, we provide them with the materials, and then they might be able to execute the work, so we're exploring that avenue, or,
Okay.
you know, or trying to find a way to get another contractor on board to kind of do the actual repairs.
Okay.
So we are really trying to be strategic and thoughtful, about the monies that we have, and then how we want to move forward in making requests.
I'm actually trying to find your application because I do believe that that was part of the information that was submitted. Because if that were the case, and I have it here, you could basically transform this quite easily into an application that comes to the CPC.
Yeah, I mean, I have the copy of what I sent to y'all, to CIPC,
You have it in an electronic version?
not with me, but yes, on my computer, I have it.
Alright,
So just let us know if you're going to submit a new application.
Okay, well, it
Okay.
sounds like I am going to submit one.
Okay.
And I will maybe try and have it to you, potentially tomorrow or Monday.
Okay, we probably won't meet till February,
Okay.
I mean, we meet in January to take the application so we can prepare everything for the town warrant and, which we normally have to have the information together by the end of April,
Okay.
to make the warrant, but we'll have to have another meeting now that you're submitting the application.
I apologize for
No,
that. I
that's
thought we
okay.
were going to be, okay.
Just for clarification then though, are you recommending that the 2,500 be turned back?
Well, I guess I would want,
Because.
We should have actually, probably turned it back a long time ago.
Yeah, because then
Because
that
that-
goes back into the historic budget,
Yeah.
not the undesignated reserve, which would make that a little bit more healthy.
so it's almost like we're turning it back and then I'm submitting a proposal.
For the new, would it be about in that
Yeah.
neighborhood, do you have?
I think
any-
we're probably would be submitting 3,000 or 4,000 to CPC.
Okay, and would we have to turn it back, we don't need a town vote. I
Yes,
think.
we do.
We do, we
We
need to have a
do?
vote for all this, so my next question to
Ah.
Francois was, with the CIPC, is that something that goes to the town as well, does that?
It does, it actually
so-
goes from the CIPC to the select board.
Yeah,
and
so
then
nothing's
gets-
gonna get done till after June,
Right, absolutely,
okay,
yeah,
as
yeah,
long as
yeah.
you're aware of that.
Yeah, we're aware, we're just trying to get some ducks in a
Yeah.
row and be kind of ready. I guess my question, just to make sure I'm clear, I am requesting an extension for the foundation for the $8,000 for foundation
Okay.
repair. I would like to have that extended, because we are trying to make some progress on that, and hopefully DPW might be able to help us with that.
Mhm.
And then we are also making progress on the library brick repair and the first floor rehab. So, if possible, I would.
Well, you don't need an
extend-
extension for those two, cause
Okay,
that's
those
been
two.
2 years.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
2021,
Oh,
right?
yeah, okay, so I guess I would like an extension for the foundation repair if possible, which was
Yeah.
2019.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, I guess looking back at the 2016, do we think it's best that I say we give the money back and I submit a new proposal, or should we go back and look at the town warrant?
No, I think I think we can look at the town warrant, but I think you need a new application. Number one, you're asking for more money than 2,500. Number two, you don't specifically say to us, oh, turn that money back, you say that project's done.
Right.
We're not going any further, the people pulled out, so we would consider that project complete as much as possible, and whatever funds are done, we vote to put it back in. Is
Okay.
what happens, then it goes to the town
Okay.
to do that. But again, I think, it's from so far ago, I thought that money had already probably been moved back, but apparently not.
I had assumed it'd been spent.
Huh?
I thought
Or
it'd
it's been spent, we have one or the other, 2,500. So you would really need a new application for a
Okay.
project manager.
Okay,
And the only other question I have is, so when people put these applications, they give us estimate for this work to be done. So if you're asking for $8,000 for the front to be done, or 20,000 for the pointing in the back, and now you're having DPW do it, that's gonna change that project, so you can't use that money for other things.
right, absolutely, yes,
Okay,
yeah,
so
no,
I just wanna make
understand-
sure you know that.
I understand
Yeah.
that what was designated is what is designated for.
Yeah, okay.
I was just, with the 2,500, I was just wondering if we could shift the focus a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, it was still a consultant, it was just a different kind of consultant, so.
So, all right, so just when you get the application, you can give it to the town clerk, and she makes a copy, I think she accepts them electronically these days, or you can walk in, with them, and then she'll get them to us, and then we'll review them, and we'll let you know when we have our next meeting.
Okay, yeah, and apologies for not having one.
Oh, no,
I
that's
was
fine.
thinking we were gonna be able to kind of do this all through CIPC, so.
Yeah, well, you haven't got an official word, maybe you still can.
Well, it's official, I think Monday, the 13th, we have our meeting where we're
Okay.
approving it, and I just don't think I saw your library application making it,
Okay,
okay?
okay,
And again, the budget was, the budget went down significantly,
okay,
so
all right,
it's one of those things.
yep, absolutely.
But bravo on the stewardship, because that's our one architectural gem,
Mhm.
and then the 2 historic churches and the chapel. That's about it for a little farm town, so,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's gonna be constant though.
Right.
It's like an old house.
Oh, yeah, yeah, no, there's a
But it
whole-
looks
I
like,
gotta-
if you don't do the roof
Yeah.
first, there's no point
Yeah,
in
no,
doing
I have a
anything
whole
else.
list of projects that we,
And I don't think we have to vote to allow them an extension, it can, or do we?
I think we have voted in the past.
Okay.
I mean, we normally just accept it, so,
219,
yeah.
so.
Yeah, and then
It's
2020 stopped
Three.
everything for a couple
The
of years,
fiscal
so.
year 23, so.
But you wanna make a motion and,
Sure, to extend the $8,000 for the foundation.
that was the front of the building, yeah.
And it was at one specific spot, right?
Yeah, like water was
Yeah.
seeping down and they were gonna
So
dig
keep
it
that in
out
mind
and-
as well.
yeah.
To what, when was it supposed to expire? So it was 2019.
It was 21, it would have expired, right, 2021.
Yeah, so to 2024, would that work for you?
yes.
Okay.
It's 23, I keep forgetting.
Fiscal
You think
year
it's 22.
24 or calendar year 24?
That's a calendar, yeah.
Yeah, calendar year is much easier to
Yeah,
keep
2 years
balanced.
from January, yeah.
So I make the motion, would anyone like to second it?
Second, oh, you
Go
second
ahead.
it? Go ahead.
You're a chair, I don't think
Oh,
you can
that's right,
second.
that's right. I can't second, I can't motion.
Okay, I'll second it.
I know I couldn't motion, I forgot.
And all in favor?
Yeah.
Still abstaining there?
No, I can't vote.
I know, I'm just
That's
kidding.
all.
Well, thank you all.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you
Yes.
too.
And keep up the good work. because
Yes,
it's-
absolutely.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're moving on to budget overview?
Okay.
Do you have copies for people, Susan, or you just
I
gonna?
do.
Okay.
And I probably would have liked to have made more, but I figured that's enough toner and paper at home, so. Okay, here we go. In anticipation of, that things would be coming in, I've been contacting Kelly to try to get the bucket balances and so forth. And it took a while, and part of it was that, you know how we put in the warrant for the estimate? The estimate that was put in for fiscal year 2023 was very high. And so it kind of messed things up. I have an extra too, just in case anybody needs it. Now, it looks like chicken scratch, cause it is, but what she sent me on Monday, so Monday, 2/6 was Monday, right. Well, you can read, it's by the end of fiscal 23, we have these amounts. They look very small, because we did do a lot of cash projects.
Cash projects, paid in full, yeah.
Right. And then,
I'm sorry, where is that number?
at the very, very top, in other words, funds currently on hand by the end of fiscal year 2023. So we have our open space bucket, which was 22.5.
Gotcha. I
So
understand
I'm starting at the top and working down.
Thank you.
And then typically, the undesignated reserve is the largest bucket, because the others are 10%, that's 65, and then, the administration is only 5%. So estimated revenue to add for fiscal 23 is 95,000. And originally, it was gonna be something like 120 or something like that. That was the estimate. So, you add what's sitting there and then what's coming in. But my question here is, when she says, this 95, that needs to be divided into the buckets, right? See, I haven't had a chance to talk to her since she sent this. So anyway,
You have a 10%, 10%, and then, yeah.
right, and that's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Yeah.
And typically, I did learn this little tidbit, if there's anything left over in admin at the end of the fiscal year, it goes into the undesignated
Undesignated.
reserve, which typically has been a couple $1,000s, which
Yeah.
is good news.
I mean, truly, it doesn't change the numbers, it just changes the buckets.
Bucket it's in.
So the
Right,
total
well,
number
but
is the same.
admin is actually, it makes that one just a little bit bigger.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
so,
but-
okay. So, and then down below, she made a stab at the projects that were allocated. And you can see, there's the 8 for the, foundation, 2,500. Let's see, oh, the 4,409, didn't that get used up in signage or something?
No, there was money left over, that
So-
project came in around 95, but I thought we voted last
I
year to
thought we
move
did
it.
too.
I
I
thought
thought
we
we
did.
moved all of this stuff.
That's what I thought. I even thought the Curtis, money, because the guys decided, no, we're not gonna do this.
They're all done, yeah.
So I have a stack of papers this big, trying to go back to the minutes and so forth. So I still need to work on this. This just occurred Monday, so.
Yeah, but if you go to the warrant, if you go to the town meeting, it should say whether we voted to move these back or not, cause I thought we did all
I
that
thought we
and put
did,
it all in.
maybe not the
We
baseball
did-
one though.
Oh, maybe not the baseball one,
Because they
okay.
were they were going back and forth as to whether or not they were gonna have to do.
And the rainbow one,
additional thing.
at the bottom of that, it said, at the bottom of that meeting, it said, that was maybe, they weren't sure. Anyway, so this definitely needs work. So
Okay.
I'm not even paying too much attention to this. Let's see, the library's in there, both of those. That 75 cents, at some point, we just need to do some housekeeping and vote that back down,
Yeah.
still silly stuff like that. But what I can't understand is why would she put the 31,260, which is fiscal year 2025 there? That should be fiscal year 2024, which is a different number. So I have not had time to digest this page,
Yeah.
but at least everybody understands we're starting with the numbers at the top of the page. That's what we have in hand. Does that make sense?
Sure.
So it's not a lot of money, but it's we can pay our debts, all right?
Yeah.
Which is, of course, the library and the playground.
Playground.
Next page, let's see if we can make some sense of this. So fiscal year 2024 is coming up as of July 1. And this little, in the upper right hand where it says fiscal year estimated revenue.
Yep.
She's been much more conservative. That number is almost what we had, 74,000. Everybody see that?
Yeah.
Okay. The state match, which is arranged by the Department of Revenue, so you never quite know. The state match has ranged from as low as 14% to 100%. The first year you got 100% match, but we've never seen that again. And bank interest, which I sent that around. Did anybody else have an issue with the investment loss of $11,000?
I don't personally, because that's not our job as this committee. I mean, to me, there's paid people in town who get paid to do that. So why would I want to oversee what they're doing? That's not our job to how the town.
Really? That's not how I feel, but
No,
explain.
no, I feel that it's not our job to invest our CPC money as a committee. That's not our role. It's the town's role to invest. I'm sure they're investing other money other than this money.
Oh, yes, there's
So-
a bunch of trusts.
Yeah, so
So
why am I gonna take all my time to oversee them who are paid people in our town that we hired to do that job?
Well, it's Bartholomew Investments, and they have a pretty good reputation, I think, out of Worcester as an office.
Mhm.
Yeah, so,
But-
I guess
so
the
why
only,
am I
the only
looking at
question
it?
the only question I have is, how do they invest it? The reason I'm asking this here is because this is a municipal government account. How conservative versus how risky and investments are typically allowed in this here? And that's, I think it's a valid question that we can ask, because there obviously has positive impacts in some cases and very negative impacts like it had this past time. I raised the question, I think I raised it with you.
Yes, you sent me a
Yeah.
quick note
And
because.
so the reason I asked the question is that not unlike Social Security, which nobody wants to talk about, how that is invested, and that's invested in treasuries because it's the safest means by which it gets invested. A municipality like ours with very limited funding, if it becomes invested in something that is of a high risk, the question should be still asked by different committees to potentially the town administrator and obviously to our finance people. How is it invested, and do we have some answers with regards to that? Because I think we owe that to our public, because we're we're not the safekeepers, but we do represent how these funds are eventually utilized. And obviously, the more funds there are, then the better it is. And if there is a reduction in funds, we're all taxpayers. And if suddenly I give $1 and suddenly my dollar is only worth, I'm just saying, 95 cents,
Yeah.
everybody's just gonna start wondering and making that question.
But I think, and that's fine, do what you want.
Yeah.
I have no background in finance.
Me neither.
I'm not interested in it. I feel I pay my taxes, the town hires Bartholomew and what have you for these people to do their job.
Oh, you're absolutely right.
So if you personally have your own interest, go ahead and ask. But I feel as a committee, we shouldn't be overseeing what the paid employees and the contracted employees are doing.
Not overseeing,
Yeah.
but
Well, you're
I think
questioning
you
it,
have a
but
right
I'm
to
just
ask
saying,
questions.
You can ask it as a
But what-
private person.
Just cause
Yeah.
honestly,
No, even as
I
a
mean,
committee person.
are we like a very conservative town as far as, I mean, I'm assuming they take all of our funds, it's not just CPC monies.
Yes,
I'm-
and they're
and
all
I don't know
investing
that.
it
I don't know
And
that.
invest it,
I don't
in
know
many
that.
different places.
Well,
Well-
in the Lions last night, somebody who's quite knowledgeable, we just put $10,000 into an I bond for 9%.
mhm.
And that was well thought of, and that was,
And if the
probably know
Lions
about that.
lose it,
Yeah.
they haven't lost tax
That
dollars, they've
was,
lost your dollars.
That was money
Yes.
that was left from,
Vietnam,
remember
maybe?
Tootsie's, I don't know if you remember Tootsie's down the road here, there was a gift shop
Oh,
on
yeah,
Main
yeah,
Street.
yeah, I remember
They
that.
left $10,000 and it couldn't be touched,
Yep.
and it sat. And they decided, well, we can't touch this, like, we have to do something with it, so they put that
Investing.
10 in
That
an
makes
I bond for 9%, and that's
I,
very good.
and the I-bonds are fantastic, and
Yeah.
right now they're paying an enormous amount of money.
Right, but you can't
Can I-
need the
can
money,
I-
you just have to.
As a treasurer, right?
I'm not a treasurer,
I'm-
I'm a tracker. I don't touch it, which.
Yeah.
No, but I, this is my personal feeling.
Sure.
That, and I understand you as a chair have quite a lot of influence on this here, and I'm obviously a new person here. I do believe that a committee can raise the question, it's not that we're questioning,
Mhm.
but rather the question as to how investments are, how monies are invested. And just get the answer on that, and that
Sure.
may potentially prompt some additional conversations, obviously, ones that I think the town administrator and again, the finance, the financial person might not only be able to answer, but may reflect on, and may take that feedback when they are again engaging with, individuals like Bartholomew.
Yeah, and didn't you already have a conversation with Kelly and Sandy?
Yeah,
'Cause
well, she sort of gave me a hint a while back that, yeah, things weren't so good this year, and I'm thinking, okay, what's she trying to tell me?
Mhm.
But when I saw the amount, I, as a taxpayer, as a citizen, but here, there's a little more information.
Sure.
My understanding was that at some point during an audit, they made the recommendation that all this money just sitting there should be working for you.
Absolutely,
Working, okay? And I'm, of course, you know.
absolutely.
So, and then somebody brought up, well, how much risk, you mentioned that.
Correct.
That's not, I'm not trying to make that decision, I'd rather almost put it under my mattress at this point, but if you had any.
Which is not riskless, by the way.
True, okay, but, that is true, so, I'm not questioning the motivation of our town employees or whatever, as just, if I was reading this report, which probably a lot of people won't, and that's okay too.
But some people do.
But
I
some
think
people
that-
do. I just said to Kelly and to Sandy, I just said, well, I understand the market goes up, goes down, my husband's 401k, okay, I got that, you know? Everybody understands it to a
Yeah.
point, but it just seems like a big number.
It-
Because we
it does.
had a lot of money at one point. And so how did that get prorated? Is it a certain percentage of all the trusts?
Right.
Because the Hubbard Preservation Trust that the Parks has, that went down to at one point, I thought, what's that?
Yeah.
So, but it wasn't as significant because the amount is
It wasn't as
large.
much money, yeah.
So I just feel like the messenger, I'm afraid people are gonna be, you know, shooting arrows at me, I'm just gonna say, well, these are the facts. I felt like we had to be fully transparent.
Yeah, and I do agree with that, but I think our money gets commingled with other money.
Well,
That's-
that makes it even
and-
more interesting, like all the trusts are
Yeah.
somehow.
And there's no reason why they shouldn't do that. The only question here is, and again, is a matter of transparency. How are the funds that everybody pays into through the taxes, how are they kept safely, and how are they invested? And so that we have an answer, and I think this is maybe one of the very first years in a long time where we have had such a high
Yes.
negative number.
Yeah, yeah.
So everybody likes it where the stock market goes up.
Absolutely.
But when the stock
And no
market.
one questions it when
Yeah.
it's gone up. The minute it goes down,
And they
everyone's.
should, and they
yeah.
should lamentably,
Mhm.
and they don't. But it always surfaces when the monies come, when the monies are not coming in, and suddenly you have a significant loss. And again, it's a loss that prevents you from investing in, I mean, take the $11,000, for all intents and purposes, that's much more money than the library is requesting at this point in time, or some other.
So it's a significant in a
Correct,
sense,
and we're not,
but
not here to say that it's not a valid loss, we're just simply saying, can you provide us some answer? I brought it up because it's the first time I'm seeing it, I don't have that visibility in other places. So, because the planning board, quite frankly, doesn't deal with it.
Yeah.
From that perspective, you happen to have a large chunk of money, you're probably the second largest chunk of money that the town has, apart from all of the accounts that the town has. And I think it's a valid question to potentially ask, because you are representing an interest for the town. I'm not telling you what to do, I'm just
No,
making a
no.
recommendation.
Yeah, and I just think if you wanna ask how's the money being invested and you come back and share that, I think that's fine. I just don't think I don't think it's our job to tell them how to invest it.
No,
That-
we're not saying that.
And
No,
that's
we're
what I was
suggesting
kinda
that.
getting, that we were trying to tell them, no, you can't invest it, or we want you to,
No, we're not
we
saying
want
that.
you to invest it in something different because
No.
it's not doing well.
Well, I mean, just,
Yeah.
I'm not a financial person at all, which makes it, I'm just, the fools rush in where angels dare to tread, but, if some of it is really just sitting, maybe it should be in something safer, like,
An I-bond.
Yeah.
Because,
paying
I
9%.
mean, the truth is, the only time that money moves
Mhm.
is when the warrants are allocated, so they can easily be gotten to, but even then, when you need the money, you still have to go to some other account, if I'm understanding that correctly, like
So
for the
I-
church.
Yeah.
We needed some couple days to
So
get,
I would
And-
agree with you 100%, we're not here to tell them how to invest.
yes,
We're rather just asking them if they can provide some information on how the money is invested.
And I will say, I did come down after you sent that, and I want to speak to Sandy, because she's been out all week.
Oh.
So I think she's on a vacation or something.
Oh,
I
good
came
for
down
her.
I came down on Wednesday, and I was told she was gone all week. So I did try to ask them, like, how is this money invested? Like, is it municipal bonds? I mean, I don't know. And, just to try to get an answer, but I
Well,
didn't get anywhere, so.
when citizens come to us, then, we say, well, exactly this, it's invested by Bartholomew, and go talk to the folks.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
all.
as far as this committee goes, we don't own the money.
No.
We basically
We're
meet,
stewards, though.
Yeah.
It's, if it's a charity
our
thing.
specific
I'm sorry.
charge is that we meet to see if any project that comes in here meets the state's guideline for allowable use of CPA funds.
Mhm.
That's our only,
That's our,
Charge.
that's our
Yeah.
primary focus.
that's our charge.
Yeah.
To
How
make
do you
sure
know
that we
you're
are
not
spending,
gonna
we are
need-
making
how
sure
do
the projects meet the.
How do you know you're not gonna need this and now you've tied it up? The
Well,
Well,
I-
that's been
that's
the
what I
argument
was
that we've had in
wondering
every
too.
single
Yeah.
meeting, and when people come in with these giant ideas
Yeah.
of let's spend all this money now, okay, but if we don't pay attention to our budget, we're going to end up without enough money to pay for what we've approved.
Future projects,
Yeah,
yeah, and things
right.
like that.
Which is why, like, the church across the way, when they were doing their project, we were jumping through hoops to try to find the money and match it all up. Similar to the library, when, I really wanna say it was Gobi came up with some money for that.
She
You know,
could have, yeah.
different projects,
Right.
everybody that comes in here, we ask them to come in with their cost and some way to match what they're asking for.
Yeah.
So if they're asking for 10,000, 5,000 from us, 5,000 from someone else, or from themselves. So all of that comes into play, but as far as us, and we can ask questions of how it's invested, how safe is it, how risky is it, who's overseeing that, but we can't control
I'm
that.
not even interested in doing that, I just wanna be sure that we're being as transparent as we can be, and then people can,
Can I,
and
can I,
every.
can I make a
sure, yeah,
suggestion?
sure.
And that is, I think a general question to Sandy maybe, or somebody who could come here and just explain, we have an $11,000 not a deficit, but a negative number in here. Can you just explain how this was happening? That's all.
Yeah,
And again,
Because-
we're not challenging the rationale for
no,
this here,
not at
because we
all.
all know how the market has worked.
yeah.
But it gives us maybe some clarity, and maybe during that conversation, and just having them come in for 10, 15 minutes.
I even
Probably.
struggled with what to label it because interest loss doesn't make sense, cause
Yeah.
it's not interest.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it's actually principal loss.
Yeah.
Oh, well, would that be a better word? No.
It is a principal loss.
Is it
but-
principal or was it
Yeah.
interest on interest? We don't know.
No, I believe it's
So,
principal loss.
because I did send the PDF to, who does the Board of Selectmen now? Tony Walker?
Tony, yeah, Tony
But
Walker.
I could easily, if there's a better label,
Yeah.
what would be a
Well,
better?
maybe that is absolutely a reason to bring Sandy in, because we need to explain how this loss occurred.
Except I'm against a timeline on the label. So is
Well,
investment loss what we are
It's an
comfortable
investment
with?
loss.
So I'll leave that, but,
It's a, yes, it's an investment loss, not an interest loss.
Yeah,
Because
'cause that
interest, you
didn't
don't
make
lose the interest
Right.
unless you're paying negative interest.
alright,
which
so I'm not
sometimes
gonna
is
worry
doing.
about this is
Okay.
still okay, alright.
Right. Again, I didn't mean to belabor
No,
this
no,
here.
no, 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 no,
Right.
that's fine, that's fine. I mean, it's really never been brought up in the past, cause we have never noticed it going
Well,
back.
it wasn't an issue in the
It wasn't.
past.
Correct.
Interesting.
So
Alright.
Susan, you'll take care of that? You're going to communicate with Sandy and see if we can get information on that? I mean, she might not wanna come to a meeting, it's at night after she's worked all day, but she might be able to explain it in an email.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
if
whatever.
she doesn't wanna attend.
Right now, it's not high on my list, it's
Okay.
just, you know, as we look at the whole picture, and that's just it, it's not in a vacuum, it has to be looked at in the whole picture. I don't
Well,
wanna make any hard feelings about it, that's
Oh,
not
I don't
the
think you
point.
will. I mean, I guess one of the questions would be like, why are we getting targeted with that $11,000 loss?
Well, that's
If
what
the
I'm-
monies are all commingled?
But
Maybe they're
because
not,
we had the
maybe
biggest
they're not
chunk,
commingled.
right?
Yeah.
Is the
Yeah.
CPA money was a
Yeah,
big chunk.
I think we need to have information in hard data that when we get asked that question, we can
Right.
answer it.
It's
And
like
we
a
don't know
lawyer.
it, because
Don't-
obviously you don't know it, you don't know, nobody knows it.
don't
How
know,
would we?
yeah.
We don't have
And
access
since
to
we
it.
don't have,
Yeah.
since we don't have control over this information, getting that information is, I think that is a responsibility that this committee does have. Because people do ask the question, and they will ask the question most likely.
Do you want me to talk to Sandy? I can do that next week.
Are you comfortable with
I'm
that?
I'm very comfortable in it, cause I'm naive about it. So I'm just looking for.
That's what I mean,
It's just
for
looking for
education,
information. Yeah.
Josephine citizen
Yeah.
saying, ooh,
Yeah.
you know, how do we explain this? It's like a lawyer, don't ask a question that you don't have the answer to, you know?
That's right.
So-
Don't talk
Right.
too much. I work with lawyers and judges, and
Okay.
know when to stop
Well,
talking.
and while we're on this page, the good news is that we definitely have money to cover our debt. So the next, I'll work up some warrant articles, a rough draft, so that we can have them approved hopefully next
the next
time.
meeting?
And
Sure.
then get it to the, get it off our plate.
Can I ask a question regarding that?
Sure.
Just based on the numbers that I was seeing here?
The numbers, okay,
No,
you're on
no,
the first
so-
page?
Well, you tell me which page I need to look into. But the debt is one that, is it an annual debt, or is it quarterly debt, or a monthly debt?
They were 5-year notes,
Yes.
and on the first page,
Yes.
you can see what year we are. So on the left is the library debt, and 5 of 5, 20,486, and it's fiscal year 2024, which we will, create the warrant for this next town meeting.
So,
And it's
so,
done.
so when you say 505, that means that this is the last payment,
This
then
is
you're
the
done?
last
Okay,
one, we should
gotcha.
have a celebration.
Okay, good, good. And then, so now I understand. So the one on the right-hand side is the RV.
Rainbow Playground.
Ah, okay, now
And that was, and
That looks beautiful,
I
by the
did
way.
Oh, thank you. It was a lot of work, it was a lot of fun though.
Oh, the playground, every time I go by, there's something
Kids
there.
are all
I mean,
done.
unless it's
Yeah.
raining or something,
Okay.
really. So, any other questions? Like I said, this was chicken scratch. She got the stuff to me and I was just putting stuff, and then I said, I could spend hours trying to format this, but that's not what we're here for, just, this is what we have. So I still need to do some work on all of this, just follow up on what the status is of some of these projects outstanding, but I know exactly where the debt ones are. We're on the last one of the library, we're on 3 of 5 of the playground. And they'll be getting rough draft warrants for next meeting.
So the warrant will have to be for 20,486.
Correct.
And 31,890.
There'll be two separate ones, yes.
Okay, and I asked the question because there's a little Star of David,
Okay.
which is 31,260,
Right,
and that
because-
corresponds to 2025.
And she put that up there, and I'm thinking, no, that's not the right number.
Okay, gotcha.
So it's
it
always
is-
good to have another set of eyes,
So it's
kind of looking at things.
31,890.
Yeah.
Perfect, now I
Right,
understand.
that's 3 of 5.
Gotcha.
And we
And
have
then there
two
was
more.
there's gonna be 2 more after that.
Yes, correct, we finished that in fiscal year 2026.
Congratulations.
Yeah, the playground will be done, so that's.
Yeah, that's great.
And, that's as much as we need to do at this point, if everybody's comfortable with me doing a rough draft on the warrants, except the third warrant that we don't usually have input on this, usually the accountant, Kelly, does this. But from last year, because it was so overestimated, maybe we need to spend a little bit of time looking at, not that we're
Are
finance.
we on the last page, or which page are you on?
Oh, okay, I am on your second page.
Okay,
She sent this and it was one whole piece of paper and I just
okay.
cut it
Okay.
out with her. So, we have 3 warrants, one for the library debt, one for the Rainbow Playground, and then one for estimated revenue fiscal year 2024.
Mhm.
And typically, Kelly has done that, and that's still part of her job. But I'm thinking, we just need to be aware, what's realistic. This is what she's estimated at this point. As you can see, it's almost the same revenue that we had now. You see, is everybody looking at fiscal year estimated revenue?
Sure, the
Upper
total
right.
being 106,500.
Yeah, the total would be 106.5. Assuming, see, we don't know exactly what the state match will be, and we certainly don't know what the bank interest will be. That's why I'm thinking there's some unknowns in there, so I'm not sure we wanna bank on the higher number, but here's just an interesting aside. One of my sisters, is the chair of the CPA in Lancaster, which this is their first full year, and she's talked with Stuart a lot, and they were talking about, well, how do we, do these warrants? And he said, don't underestimate it, because if you do that, it affects something else. And I'm gonna ask him when I see him in March, he's gonna wanna run away. Now, I'll give him some heads up on that one, because I said, well, then let's just estimate lower, and isn't it better if we get more? But I don't wanna go the other way, estimate higher and then be caught short.
Right.
But he said something about that's not a good strategy, so I think we need to understand it more.
Well, he might be talking about towns that have money.
For big chunks,
Yeah.
right, yeah. Oh, like I said, Phillips did, I couldn't believe it, 800,000.
Wow,
I mean, good for them. And then this last page, which is the allocated summary, it looks like this. Or it's not your last page, it's second to
Okay.
the last page. This is what Kelly sent on Monday, and here are our, the status of our accounts here. And a lot of these we could vote to close, except we probably won't do it tonight, maybe wait until everybody can vote. But I think that's just a housekeeping thing.
Yeah.
And I want a little more time to investigate the 12,000 and the 44 there, and the rest of it makes sense to me. But,
I'll go back and look at the 12,000.
yeah, that would be helpful, because, you guys did that white turfing stuff, but that was out of HUD preservation and one of your accounts.
Yeah, that's not this. This
That's right.
12,000 is part of the baseball
That's what it would have had to
realignment.
have been,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. I think they got 20,000, but I think they didn't use it all,
Okay,
last I
alright.
knew, yeah.
So that one's, I think, fairly self-explanatory, and it all looks correct, just needs to be followed up on.
Yeah, and the
And-
Rainbow and Playground, that $4,400, that's.
I thought you
goes-
needed it at the end for signs or something. Oh, well, then that's a little bit more money, and that came from unrestricted reserve, right? So, okay,
I still
last,
think we voted to move.
last page, and we're there. Just for the fun of it.
Although it's not that time.
Shame on you.
I know.
Just for the fun of it, I thought I wanted to do an overview. So we don't even have to take time to do this tonight, except it's just interesting to see, to me, to step back and look at what we've accomplished, and how we've done it. Because who was mentioning partnerships? Or, you know, everybody has some skin, you
Yeah.
said something about, because, trends for success, in many of these projects, the thing that made them work, the church stepped up with more than a third. Because they also had to do some improvements
Mhm.
and pay for some, people had to come in and fix some things there,
Mhm.
right? Okay. Habitat, oh, by the way, we should pat ourselves on the back, Hubbardston, because we initially 20K, then 25 from just CPA, and then ARPA 25, so it was 70,000 plus the building lot. So I think we really put our money where our mouth is, and it's wonderful. It's a new home.
Yeah,
It's-
it's a sad thing, she lost a child, the child died.
You mean recently?
Yeah,
Oh,
The
I
daughter
didn't hear
with
that.
the,
not the daughter with the walker, the other daughter.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow,
Oh, I'll have
So
to,
it was kind of
I'll
a-
look into that, because
wow, that's sad.
yeah.
Oh.
Did you know that?
I did not know.
Yeah,
Oh, man,
so.
that is
How
tough.
old was the
You were
child?
gracious enough to give us a basket from the
Oh, from
Lions,
Giacomo's,
yeah.
Oh, the
for-
Lions
We
did,
did, yeah. And
Oh,
they-
that's right, at the housewarming you
And the
brought
church
one
people
too.
come up there for it,
Mhm.
but I heard that she
That's-
lost her daughter, so that's sad.
We'll have
Did
to
she
talk
have young
later, Dolores,
children?
okay?
Yeah, yeah, that's, what's her name? No. Alice's daughter lives next door to
Right,
that,
right.
so has a new grandchild.
Yes.
Oh,
she's
nice,
a little girl.
nice,
So
good for
excited about
her.
that.
Yeah.
That's why she's no longer coming to these meetings.
I don't blame you, I'd rather be rocking a baby.
But you
Anyway,
can hand
so,
off when it cries or
Yeah.
gets smelly.
yeah, so the habitat, I mean, we can't do that every year,
Right.
but maybe down the road as the housing bucket grows, because you really can't do big projects with that, it would take years and years.
Mhm.
Right.
But another habitat, if we have another lot, because that made the difference too. So bravo to the select board. I think it, you know, they sold it for $1 or something, I don't know, anyway. So there again, it was a partnership, Fieldstone Farm, couldn't do that on our own, I forgot to put my asterisk there, because it was DCR and, East Quabbin Land Trust. I mean, to get more land here in Hubbardston, I thought that'll never fly, but it did. And it was because of the partnerships. Now, the library, can we go back to that? And I just wanna finish up with the debt service overview and then the library, since we just had our wonderful guest. Debt service, here we have the details on the loans, but look at what difference an interest rate makes. Because for 100,000 on the library roof, we spent at the end 10,125. For 150,000 on the playground, we spent 10,542. How can that make that much difference? But
It's 0.33%.
Yeah.
Makes a
it
big
doesn't that
difference.
blow your mind? And I'm thinking, and so this is what I was saying at the bottom. And then of course the Rainbow Playground speaks for itself. That oh, there was another. Now Sanda was Parks and Rec. They asked for an extra 50 because they knew they had site work, fencing, da 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 da. The playground itself was 150, but it wasn't going to happen by itself. It needed the other supporting funds. So that's how you plan a successful project.
And we did apply for a grant, but we didn't get the grant.
Right, the park grant, because you didn't have a fountain or a play pad.
We don't live in a diverse
Yeah,
community.
I know.
It's really the
I
biggest
see what you're
reason.
saying there.
Yeah.
Anyway, so, trends for success, partnerships, so that makes it work. Financing options used for historic library roof and playground at great rates, but cash for historic church siding where financing would likely be problematic, even though the legal opinion supported the use of CPA funds for the exterior of the building. So I think, you know, I'm sort of patting us on the back, but, and oh, I love this too. There's something in all of the categories. We had
Yeah.
something in open space, we had a couple things in historic, housing, and recreation. So, you know, you just.
Checked off every single bucket.
Yeah, it's
There you go.
like, wow, okay,
Nice.
this is working.
That's
It's
good.
work though sometimes, isn't it? And then just to go back to the library. I didn't need to put her on the spot, but I kinda did.
That's fine, they have quite a bit of money in their own funds.
That is my, and I tried to say it nice, and she, you know, I think she could see where I was going with that.
But that doesn't mean they can't apply for an application.
No, they can, and chances are that's not that much money.
Yeah.
But then they do need a project manager in essence, because it's the roof, it's the boiler, that was on the capital.
We would have to, if that application comes in, check with Stuart to see whether or not it's even an allowable use under CPA funds.
Yeah, cause it might
Because
not be.
it's not, you're not preserving anything historic,
Mhm. It's not a
it's not
study.
open space,
Yeah.
it's not a study.
Well, what
Um,
is it then, if it's not a study, what
That's,
is it?
well, I mean, it's not a study that to preserve it historically. So you can't just give money, like, when the planning board housing committee came for money for a study, it was to study putting together an affordable housing plan, which is an allowable use of CPA. The library, if it wanted to come to us and say, we need to have a plan to how we're gonna preserve its historic character, you could conceivably do that. If they wanna get a project manager to see whether or not they have to paint a wall or other things that aren't under the purview of CPA, then no.
And on the application, they have to say how this qualifies for CPA funds, so they actually have to kinda
Go
quote
through it
it, they
and
have to
see
go
it.
through it, not just ask for the money.
Because that was one of the big
Yeah.
concerns with CPA when it came into place, is that towns would use this money to fund projects that the town didn't wanna put on their own budget.
Yeah.
Correct, yeah.
Correct.
So that was one of the safeguards to keep it out of it, like your Parks Commission, if all the benches broke, CPA couldn't go in there and
No.
fix them.
No.
Because that was a maintenance issue.
Right.
The library roof, there was an argument during the conversation about whether or not that was a maintenance issue. Well, you can't really blame them for a couple 100 years,
Sure,
you know what I
yeah, yeah,
mean?
exactly, yeah. Or, cause we've turned down projects, you know,
Mhm.
like when they wanted to bring all the, work, the paper into the digital age.
Right, which
you know,
that
we-
was, oh my
Mm.
god, I loved
Yeah.
drawing.
I
We
thought
used our-
that happened.
No,
No.
well, it might have happened,
Oh,
but
no,
not
the
with CPA money.
historic books have been restored.
Oh, okay.
But this was data
But
here
poor
in the
Ryan,
town,
Ryan
yeah.
and I had, cause I was the chair at the point, we had so many conversations, like, Ryan, he's like, well, we're preserving historic records, I'm like, okay, so if I had the Mona Lisa and I scanned it, have I preserved it?
No.
No. Yeah.
I said, if you have historic records that you want to rehab and bring into, like Joyce did with
Like
the
Joyce did,
town
yeah.
records,
Right.
we could do that. I said, you guys wanna scan the records from the planning board meetings from 1972? That's not,
just kind of.
that's not
No,
historic
at some
preservation.
point it will be historic
Right.
record, so.
But I mean, but you're not
For the
preserving
Library
it,
of
you're just,
Congress, maybe.
you're
Yeah.
just changing the way of access to
Yeah.
it,
It depends
you
on
know?
how far
The
you wanna,
verbiage.
it's how far you wanna stretch it without getting into trouble.
Right,
Correct.
right, and like Joyce, I mean, her project was amazing.
It was.
It was gorgeous,
And it was needed, because those things will deteriorate.
And
Those
have you
things are
gone and
beautiful.
seen
I don't
them?
know if
They're
you've seen them, they're
beautiful.
gorgeous.
Yeah,
No.
they are. And you can as a
Yep.
member of
You
the
can- they
town
get
go in and
gloves.
ask
It's
to look.
very
Yeah, they
exciting.
give
Is
you
it in the
gloves.
library then?
No,
it's
it's
at
in
the
the
town-
safe.
It's in the safe at the.
I mean, I can
town.
see how, and it's just speaking out loudly.
Yeah.
I can see how it can be tied from a preservation perspective, because what you're doing is you really are making sure that you're
But-
preserving things in the right order
But they
and giving
weren't-
the right prioritization.
They didn't have like a list of, we want to preserve the records involving the whatever extension.
No, no, I'm
Charles
talking about the
Commission,
library, the
Yeah.
Oh, the library building, okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Preservation of records, I'm like, no, we
No,
couldn't
no, no,
approve
no,
that.
no, 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 no. I think we need to make sure that this is guided properly and
Mhm.
correctly, assuming again that we can make the case and the argument for
And
it.
they would have to come up with the case.
Yes.
And then we would, if there was any
Absolutely.
question, we'd ask Stuart and
Yeah.
he would weigh in on it.
And I think it's important for us just to give the right
Right.
direction. It's like, don't open this door, do it that door, this is the right door for you to go through.
And if you ever go, like, if you go through the CPA site and some of the different projects and some of the problems that towns have gotten into where they've approved projects that really didn't
No,
meet
the
the
auditors come in and then
criteria.
they
Yeah.
take a look at this here and
And we don't wanna, we
slap
don't wanna
people's hands.
give the impression that, you know, we're a blank check for certain groups
Correct.
in town, they have to meet
Right.
criteria.
And that's why we have a great committee that has
Yeah.
different opinions and we hash it out and follow the guidelines
And
and.
stare at each other and
Yeah.
blink when we wanna put in. It's like, please, you talk.
Well, on a similar note,
Oh.
Yeah.
I was wondering,
Yeah.
you were gonna bring that up.
in the rec field, for field day, they always have the chicken barbecue, and they have a tent, and they have tarps and everything, and it's been proposed by the Lions to build this structure that's 16 by 36, it's a pavilion that the public could also use, and it's where the chicken barbecue is when people sit. So, my thought is that I don't know whether they should apply for CPC money, or if this is anything that, how
Shouldn't,
does that work?
shouldn't they go to parks first?
They should. They should
go
go to
parks?
And I know Jay, who is on Parks,
Okay,
he
yeah.
did reach out to me and said,
Did he?
can I just put this through you, but I couldn't talk to him, I was leaving.
Okay.
It
Should-
has been brought up in the past by other people,
Uh-huh,
but it needs to be discussed openly with Parks and, I mean, we need to figure out if it's sitting on a baseball field, I mean,
It-
you know, so.
it's way back,
yeah.
and,
Well, like I said, we have to discuss it, the
right.
location.
Is it worth
and all
putting in a proposal for it, or no, do you think it's?
The Lions can always put in a proposal for it and we can discuss it.
Okay, because
You
I
know?
think the bottom line is 22,000 and, groups of men are gonna contribute to building this, I mean, it's not gonna be all contractors,
So it's mostly materials that we're looking at.
Apparently, yeah, they've, this was just last
Is it
night.
stationary though, it's something that stays there?
Right, and it'll be, the public can use this, we'll put picnic tables there, so too, it
I
would
still
be-
think, I mean, Lions can put an application in for CPA, for
Yeah.
CPA funding all they want, but they first,
have to go.
the vested owner, not owner, but overseeing board of that property is the parks. So if
Okay.
they came in with an application saying they wanted to do with this and Parks hadn't voted to
Okay.
move it as a
You
project,
said
then
you
we would
talked to
say,
Jason
no.
already about it, or? should
Yeah, but I mean, no, I
Yeah.
really haven't talked to him,
Okay.
he just kind of, like I said, texted me.
Alright, should I tell
Um,
them to put in a proposal for it, or?
Well, they can, but they've got work to do, they have to complete an application, they gotta get estimates,
Right, that's all,
and you know, you can say men are gonna build it, but we don't wanna pay for something that's not gonna be built right.
yeah,
So, you know, they
Yeah.
could, I mean, the Lions could use their own money and do it as a volunteer project
Mhm.
to the town versus asking the town for money, cause then it's probably gonna have to go through more
well,
hoops
that's how
to
it
make sure
started
it's
last night,
engineered and structured correctly.
yeah.
Well, it's a
Yeah.
stationary thing, so it's
Yeah.
there.
So
Yeah.
It was on
I don't know
wheels,
whether
it'd be
anybody
easier.
wants to see that.
But you would also, I mean,
Yeah.
from my perspective, from being on the CPC for a while, Parks would have had to have met with this group because the town owns that land, not the
Yeah,
Lions.
right, yeah.
And to say, yes, we think this is something the parks, that area of the park needs,
Right, yeah.
we'll support that project, and even Parks could bring in the
So
application.
Correct.
I
Your
think Parks needs to
parks,
approve
though.
this here first, as to
Right.
whether or not this
Exactly.
is a project that can be
That-
done there, and then the next question is where,
Right.
how is it funded?
Yes.
Well, that's what
And
they're
the public
hoping to
can
get.
come to the different committees and say, we'd like to do this, will you
Yeah.
go on, board?" you know,
Yeah.
then it gets done that way.
I mean, gosh, I mean, anyone with property could say, I wanna put a dog park in.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
come in and say, I wanna, do this, and this is how much it'll cost.
Yeah, yeah.
But the Lions Club doesn't actually own that property, so they have to
Exactly,
get
so they
approval
have to
from
get,
the group that
exactly,
oversees it.
they have to get a permission, and then,
Mhm.
once
Yeah.
the permission is there, then the question is how do you build it?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah,
And how do you fund it?
correct.
And does it meet, open space or recreation?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Might be
That, you know,
passive recreation, I'm
And
not
it
sure.
could be,
We'd we'd have to look into it, but they have to present it to Parks.
yeah,
Yeah.
okay, I'll just tell them that, then
Yeah.
that's all, I just,
Yeah.
Is it too late though, or, I mean, how strict are we on, I mean, she showed up, so technically, I mean, I don't
Yeah.
care, but I'm just
I
saying
mean, it
that's what's
depends on how
written.
quickly they wanna vote on it and move it, like you guys meet once a month or every 2 weeks, every
If you
2
want to
weeks?
see
that's
this.
twice a month,
Yeah, yeah.
so we
So
just
when does
met last
Rex meet
night,
again?
and it wouldn't be another,
Well, we really aren't gonna meet again until March unless someone brings something to our attention that they
Yeah.
would like us to meet, cause we're not gonna meet again until we're gonna open up the park.
okay.
But if someone approaches us and says, we'd like to discuss this with you, then we
Mhm.
hold a meeting.
Who is
you know.
Parks besides you?
Me, Jay,
Oh.
Dave Sacramone,
Oh, okay,
Brian
that's a
Matheson,
whole-
and
Oh,
Eric
all right.
Jembry.
When do you meet?
Well, again, like I said, we don't
Yeah.
meet in the wintertime because the park's closed down.
Right.
So we were not gonna meet again until
I
March
see.
unless someone comes to us and
I
says,
mean, you don't have a cross-country skiing club up
no,
there?
I'm so sorry. That would be fun, that would
That
be
would be
fun,
fun,
that would be
yeah.
fun.
Cross ice
if we had
skiing.
snow.
Yeah, if we had snow, yeah. So if the Lions Club approaches us, or if Jay says the Lions really has got this put together, they wanna present it to you,
Yeah.
then we would obviously hold a meeting.
I was thinking it would get
in
lots
time.
of use, I
Yeah.
mean,
I think so.
Oh, sure.
Birthday parties?
yeah, you know, just
Absolutely.
I don't know, something
And
to
it's
explore.
supposed to have a cement foundation too, not just on the ground, you
Yeah.
know. So they had it all together explaining it last night, the Jay
May I
and
ask who
another
came up
fellow.
with this, wonderful idea?
It's been brought up before, people have
Yeah.
suggested it to the parks before, but no one's ever gone forward
I
with
think
it.
at the chicken barbecue, when they see how it is to try to put all these people under tarps and tents and
Tents, yes,
everything,
no,
it's
I
just
think that makes
be
makes
nice,
wonderful
and it would be
sense.
a plus in the field.
And over at Dunn Park in Gardner, cause I went over there and
Yeah,
checked that one out,
it's a
because someone had
stadium.
told us about it, they,
I mean, I can even
They
see
flood it,
when,
don't
when
they?
the baseball
They do,
teams are
yeah.
getting together,
Yeah.
they,
Yeah.
and they wanna be in a
Yeah.
covered location.
That's true, I think.
They have snack shops
So,
too, or
Snack
something.
shack,
Snack
Oh,
shack,
yeah,
yeah.
it's 22,000 that it would take to do it all,
It
so.
doesn't seem.
Well, just
We should
remind
ex-
them they
we
have to come up with 3 bids, that's what we look
Yeah,
for,
yeah.
so, keep that in the back of their mind when they're
Right,
planning out the
yeah.
project.
yeah,
So-
And
And
get
again-
permission of the overseeing body of the parks.
parks, and, well, and the other
Right.
thing too is if we're gonna contract it out, then it's gonna have to be contracted by people who
Right.
know what they're doing.
Yeah,
If it's,
yeah.
like the barn down there, that was built by volunteers, you
Yeah.
know, so
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
fine, but something like this, unless, if the Lions is gonna build it and gets parks permission, they would probably have to fund it themselves and build it with their people,
Mm-hmm,
otherwise it's gonna have to go through a contract, right?
right, yeah.
So
Which
do we
the
want,
cost would
Well,
probably
the
go up,
Lions has,
probably.
we've got a lot of money in the Lions, we gave $1,000 to Turkey last night, and
How
we're
much did they get from
always
ARPA?
giving, huh?
how much did Lions get from ARPA?
26,000.
I
Yeah,
don't
was it
know.
26,000?
Yeah.
For lost revenue from meat sales or meat
Yeah,
raffles,
yeah.
right? So do we wanna, plan a meeting? Cause we have to vote on reorg, you'll swear in between now and then, I assume.
I
With
and I
ARPA?
apologize.
I'm
No,
just
that's
teasing.
fine.
I really am just
Um,
teasing you.
We can, so I just think, to be honest, I don't think we can just leave this application process wide open and have people showing up on the
Any old
11th
time.
hour.
No.
Like, we can put out again, we're gonna have another meeting,
How about like
pick a name.
mid-March?
I'd say mid-February. Myself,
It's
like,
February
oh,
now,
I'm sorry,
honey.
it's February now, yeah, that's fine, yeah, we
It's
can.
almost mid-February, next week till Valentine's Day.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, so mid-March, but literally that gives us a month to get anything on the warrant, because the warrant closes like April
April,
24th.
Okay.
So-
And I'll have the rough drafts ready,
Mhm.
and so they can just be tweaked.
Is there,
Because here again, you're working with a new town administrator, and it's
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
been,
so do
Do
Thursday?
do your warrant articles have to be presented to the select board?
oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, and they, do they officially have to approve it,
Yes,
or, okay,
yeah.
okay.
Well, they just
Well,
look
they-
at, they
I
just
just
look
don't
at
know.
it and they tweak it for language mostly, but they don't
Yeah.
have to approve the application process of
No,
putting in, yeah.
CPC, once we
Yeah.
vote to approve a project, it goes on the warrant.
Yeah.
The selectmen can come back with questions about it,
Yeah.
but we're the group that's actually presenting the
Presenting
warrant
it,
item.
I understand, it's the
Okay.
same way that the planning board does,
Okay.
but my understanding is that, the ultimate yay or nay that it makes it into the warrant does go through the select board.
Not with this
No.
committee, because
Okay.
this committee oversees the allowable use of that money. So
Gotcha.
it's outside of their purview.
Yeah.
Though it's nice to have their
Oh, yeah, we've done-
recommendation,
Yes,
like
correct.
financial committee recommends or
Same
whatever,
thing,
or
yes.
doesn't.
Well, like with
Yeah.
the church project, the more controversial of the 2 churches. The select board, there was plenty of meetings where they were against it, and it was
Yeah.
like, yeah, that's great, but it's an allowable use, so
Yeah.
what's
Yeah,
going on?
we had a number of meetings with the Board of Selectmen during that.
Yeah,
That was very labor intensive.
that was.
Yes, it
We were
was.
meeting all
But every
day.
time you drive by, you say,
Yeah, I mean, we gotta admit, it looks good.
It
does
looks
look good.
fantastic, it really
So-
does.
Should've put
And
that.
go back to the
they've done
date.
some nice work
Are
with the
Thursdays-
doors
Right,
and
yeah.
the entrances and.
Are Thursdays better than most, or is there a better day of the week?
Like Thursday the
Something like that.
9th, that's the week after the meeting with Stuart.
Yeah.
And then it'll be sort of fresh in our minds, is Thursday good for everybody? And can we
Well,
get this room?
that's about
Yeah,
a month.
yeah.
9th of
Yeah.
March.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a Thursday, right? Yeah.
Yep. So
I
does-
mean, we can actually meet in other rooms, but they're just asking people to meet
So what if we
here.
like tentatively agree to Thursday, March 9th at 7?
Yep, and actually, it's wide open right here, so I'm gonna put it here.
Is that,
As long as it doesn't interfere with the planning board meeting, which, we don't have one that week, that's
Okay.
fine.
Oh, that's.
The second one is on Thursdays, first one of the month.
I have a meeting for, affordable housing at some point,
On the 9th?
I don't know.
How many people are on that
I
committee?
have no idea, they've never met, best I can tell.
There was a committee of one person at one point,
Oh,
Prentice or some other name, out on Lombard.
I don't know.
Oh, and just one other thing, we don't even have to
I thought
discuss it tonight, but technically, we are supposed to have a public meeting annually. It's a annual needs study where it's published 2 weeks ahead of time that it's gonna be happening. And I'm sort of, we've discussed it from time to time, and in the past, not many people seem very
People?
interested.
No,
Like
no,
Zilch.
We did it for like 5 years. beers and
We
things,
brought
so.
cookies, we had juice,
You're
no
trying
one came.
everything. But technically, even if people don't show up,
But we've,
I feel like we still need to at least make an effort. Maybe we could piggyback it on, like, not field day, cause that's very kid oriented, but the fair day, you know, and maybe just.
we can have, and we've had informational tables set up at like the back of town meetings, at other events in town. But that wouldn't count as a meeting to discuss what we do.
Exactly, but if.
So if you wanted to do a table at field day similar to what Open Space does.
Or what about the fair?
And the
Somehow-
ag committee's gonna do it, agricultural commission is gonna do a table at the field day in September.
So maybe that's a good time to do it.
For the same reason, to get people involved, to know what we're doing.
Yeah, and the
So-
historical society usually does something, and I was thinking, well, maybe I could do if, you know, unless somebody else wants to do it. I mean, it's only one day a year, but it always seems like you'd rather be somewhere else. I
Right.
know, but I'm thinking we should do it because it's in the law. Is this the law? I don't even
It's
remember
a
where I
by-
got this.
Bylaw, it's a bylaw that's on
Is
the
it just
website.
us, or is that the
No,
Mass
that's-
General law?
That's a bylaw from town.
That's a bylaw that we voted for to
For.
get CPA
Okay.
funding. in.
So-
So you're
So
required
that's
to
off the
have
town
a-
website.
Can,
Yeah.
may I read it?
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah,
I don't,
generally-
like I said, it's
Yeah.
page 21, and I'm thinking, I don't even remember where I got that.
Generally,
If
when we'd
that's off
have
the
like a
town website,
CPC
yeah.
or CPC meeting, we would throw on one of the agendas, you know, get to know your CPC. That was the extent of the,
Yeah, but it needs to be published in the newspaper, it
Yeah, it
says 2
requires,
weeks ahead.
it requires, because it is like a public hearing,
Yes,
but it's a public informational hearing.
so, and
So would it,
So why don't we
We don't-
just do it on field day when the other open space and all them are doing it too? I mean, maybe it's a good
I don't
way for everyone to do it.
you
Well,
keep
that's
saying
definitely
field
way
day,
to-
and I keep on saying,
September is
Yeah,
field day.
September.
right, but the fair that happens in the spring,
But
because
that's just a
That's
crap
June,
fair.
and that's
Yeah.
just a craft fair.
yeah, but I know the historical society was there.
Well, I mean, if you pay $25,
We'd have to
you
check
can.
with the
Oh,
town.
oh, and then if it's bad weather, I don't know,
Would a
just,
hearing, could a hearing just be an information table? I don't know.
yeah, well, just be
No one ever
thinking
comes.
about it,
I know,
what
yeah.
might fly.
Yeah.
And you know what, people don't know what CPC is until I was on open space,
Yeah.
and one of the members happened to mention about this funding source for housing open space, and I said, what's that? Cause when I was
But-
working,
But that's why there's a member of all the committee,
Yes,
boards and towns
right.
here, so
Yeah.
you get the words out to your boards.
But yeah, I mean,
So
as
your
far as
boards
having a
know
table,
about it.
setting a table up at any town event, it's not a
I
bad
think
idea.
that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
You know, even if you had the pamphlets available or whatever.
Yeah. Do we have flyers or pamphlets or anything like
I
that?
think there's something on the town website.
That we could print out?
You had a
Yeah.
lot of flyers.
What are the elements of the annual review process?
for, that's on there, the church. Are you, Andy?
No, I'm just
reading?
saying the committee must hold at least one public informational hearing as part of the initial study and the annual review process.
That's a good question, I have no
So
idea.
what are, that's why I'm asking, because when you are,
We've never
When-
actually
when you-
had to have
when
a
you-
process. No one's ever showed up.
well, I'm just saying, is when the hearing notice comes out, you have
Mhm.
to indicate
What?
that this is for an annual review process. The question now is what entails the annual review
I'm
process?
gonna say applications.
I
Or
would
what the,
say-
what the
No,
town,
they-
and the whole thing is
For
what
that-
the
But I
town
would say
wants.
budgets,
Mhm.
potentially budget,
And
and-
allowable uses?
yeah, questions of,
have-
and then some Q and As.
Yes, right.
And in the past, we've had a whole booklet of listing all the past projects, going back to Mount Jeff. What the application process is,
Right.
encouraging to apply for grants or other funding, or having your own personal funding to match whatever you get. Cause ideally, CPA or CPC monies, or CPA monies, would be a matching grant for something you've already got.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be I need this, give us all the money, and that's
Right,
most
the
of the
partnership
projects.
thing,
Right.
right.
That's how most of the projects have actually gone through
Right,
and worked
exactly.
out. And so that would be the kind of, when we have had them, we've had it all prepared, and no
Nobody-
one's come.
No one's ever come.
But we've had, like, the
But
review
if
of all the
if
projects that we
they're
had in the
there anyway,
past.
I know where we could
What-
set up at the.
We
right.
usually clarify that it is tax money, cause some people seem to think it's not. It's a very low percent, but it is
Right.
tax money.
It is your tax dollars,
And that, what this group does, which is make sure that legally it is allowable use, and then the town bodies the taxpayers have to vote to spend it.
Right.
And again, I'm gonna go back to the fact that that's why this board is made up of representation of
From the
all the
various-
different boards, and you're
Yeah.
supposed to be informing your boards, and it's, cause all these projects go through all our boards, that's where it comes from, so it really should be you at
But
your
I understand
meetings
what you mean about the
talking
hearing.
about it.
I'm sorry?
The public hearing part is is slightly different as
Yeah.
far as,
Yeah, no, I think that has to be formal, because it does require.
it was always just something you handed off to the town offices saying, hey, we need to, and we would put it on the
And
agenda.
we put flyers up, though, we put it
Yeah.
in the school newspaper, we
Does
put
it cost
it
you
on
money,
board.
because you have to actually publish it in the newspaper.
I don't know that they ever actually published it in newspaper.
What
It is required by
newspaper do you
law,
publish
if
it
you have a
in for
public hearing.
Hubbardston?
Well, so
Gardner
it
News.
costs $20 or
Oh,
something.
no, it's more.
What, really?
Yeah, I think it's almost like $100 nowadays. I know this here because the planning board has public hearings all the time.
And they have to pay for each.
Oh, yeah.
But
Well,
you don't have- you
eventually,
shouldn't have to pay
I mean,
for
we pay, but it comes from the applicant.
Oh.
For example, we have had, when we had the applications for the marijuana fields, or we had, other public hearings of different types, like, for example, when the
That's
storage
really
facility was,
Ah.
came and so forth. All those public hearings, there's a cost involved in this here, and the cost of publishing this here in the newspaper is incurred by the applicant.
Hmm. So we would be the applicant. So
Well-
that's what administrative is for.
There you
Yes.
go.
I mean, you know, it seems, I just feel like we should do it because it
Well, I
says
think
we
it's
should
also
do it.
legally required, because you
Yeah.
have it in your bylaw. If you were not doing this here, the problem is at some point in time, an auditor come in and say, why aren't you doing it? And if you're not doing it, they could slap you in your hand, and if you do it multiple times, you might even question the,
Integrity of
Exactly.
this group, which we
Exactly.
certainly don't want that to
Yeah.
happen.
exactly.
Also, there's the record keeping thing and like property interests. We don't own the church, but somebody from the historic commission is supposed to stop in annually and just make sure it's.
Yeah, that was part of the
Agreement.
preservation.
Yeah.
but it
Restriction.
was, actually, I think it got pushed off of historic onto the select board, because select board was so concerned about,
If
The
it's
there was a whole
structure, yeah.
argument about whether or not going in, like, what they could go in to look at, but yes, they
Oh.
have authority to walk in and
Yeah.
inspect the outside.
But I think the
And it
Williamsville
ended up
Chapel
just being the
got money
outside.
It was
for
just
roof
the outside.
Years
years
ago.
back.
Yeah,
And are they supposed to be inspected? I don't know.
I don't remember.
I mean, it's like somebody's closet, it always needs cleaning, I mean, you know, we could always do it better, I think we've done a lot of good things, but maybe we just need to tighten up on a few of these things.
Yeah.
Without that much effort.
Yeah, I mean, most of it doesn't really take much. I mean,
Yeah.
we literally, all we can do for the church, and it's not us, it's the town select board, they can look at it and say, yep, they didn't paint it purple. Yep, they're maintained, I mean, that's really all
Yeah.
it comes down to. If the church decides to sell or vacate, whoever goes in there has to keep the front and the sides looking exactly as it is now.
Has to stay
They
a
can't
church.
change it.
Yeah.
That's, I think, that's a deed restriction that was put on the property.
Yeah.
So the facade needs to be maintained,
Yeah.
makes sense.
And they can't come back looking for money to fix the facade, they've gotten that money, that's their
Yes.
maintenance issue at this point.
Oh,
So
what time is it?
8:46. We
Oh,
got it,
okay, but we got a lot done, cause we haven't
We
met in a
did.
long
Yeah,
time.
so we're meeting on March sixth,
9.
Nine.
ninth, I'm sorry.
March 9th.
I can put that in, at same time, same channel?
Yep.
Yes, I already put it in the calendar.
Oh, you on top of things.
I looked to make sure it was available.
So I'm gonna make a motion to adjourn, would anyone care to second?
And I will say. Are we still being filmed, or are
I
we,
have no idea what
I
that
think
woman's
you
doing.
see
Well,
it adjourned,
until you
and
get
at
the
that
That
point.
lights
okay
on
from
up
the-
there, okay.
So I think that person
So,
has to sit
all in
there until
favor?
you press the button.
No.
All in favor to adjourn?
Yes.
Yeah.
Cool.
And the red light goes off.
So should